The Rob Brown Show on your radio. It is the Fan Upstate. Yo, welcome back, Rob Brown.
Yo,
I said what I said. I was dropping bars, as the kids say.
You were?
Because I'm still hip, cool, and got it. Riz, swag, aura. This guy.
Too old to say those words. Too old.
This guy. If Tiger Woods isn't too old to say it, I'm not too old to say it. All right?
Tiger Woods is kind of cool, though. I'm just saying.
So am I. My hat's backwards. I'm definition of cool.
Okay.
You know who else is cool? That's an excellent segue. I'm very good at radioing. The host of Sirius XM's College Football Overtime, and maybe the stinkingest genius of all the stinking geniuses when it comes to talking football, live in Washington, D.C., is Denton Day. What's up, big fella?
Fellas, how we doing? Rob, I don't know that you've mentioned this yet, so I will. Alonzo, I like your shirt. I have that symbol tattooed on me, so big fan of that shirt.
Oh.
Now we got to know where, I guess.
It's on the arm. I got.
Okay,
all
right.
Can show you. I have a whole Batman sleeve.
Uh-oh. He's
getting. Wait, you have a whole Batman sleeve?
This is what Howard Stern did, right? Yeah, we got the whole Batman situation going on. Got the red hood.
Wow.
Right there.
Nice.
Yeah, that hurt, but it was worth it.
That is levels of intense I was unprepared for in this moment, Denton Day.
Yeah, it took it was multiple sessions. That shirt's not going back on. It took 11 hours in total.
I don't think I'm committed to anything that much. Well done.
Yeah, after the first 5-hour session, I was ready to fight everybody in the studio. I would have lost terribly, but I was just so mad at the world.
That's fair. I have tattoos. Deck has tattoos. And as I informed you during the break, soon Hayden Ass Mario is going to be joining the ranks of tatted BetQL members.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't want to allude to that because I didn't know how secretive that actually was.
Yeah.
But
he knows it's coming. He just doesn't know when.
He doesn't know when. Okay.
And considering we're turning this into a spectator sport, Denton Day, and you're in DC, you might as well come on down and just join the party in the studio that day. It's going to be a ball.
All I got to do is walk down a flight of stairs, and I'm there.
Done and done. All right, big fella. Let's talk a little college footy. Let's go back in time to start this thing to our two semi-final games. And start with this. Listen, I expected Ohio State in their semifinal game to win, and I thought it was going to be close. I got to tell you, I think Steve Sarkisian and the coaching staff at Texas kind of screwed the pooch. The pressure cooker got really cranked up at the end of the game, and I think it got a little sideways. I think Ohio State was just a better team at the end of the night, though.
Yeah, I mean, they're the best team in college football right now. I do think that Texas is front 5 and front 4 on both offense and defense did a very good job until the very end, at least on the offensive line. But I thought their defensive line did a really good job. At the very least, it did kind of humanize Ohio State. They were clearly still better, and they are still better, and they're way better than Notre Dame. But it did at least show that they were human, right? I don't know, beatable is probably not the right word because it never felt like Texas actually had a chance at any point in that game. All they were doing was throwing wheel routes, and apparently Ohio State didn't know how to stop those. But once they stopped doing that, they stopped scoring points. But it did look like that Ohio State was not as far and away as good as we thought, but yet they're still way better than Notre Dame. Because Notre Dame is worse than Texas. I think if Texas and Notre Dame played, Texas would beat them by at least a score.
I don't disagree with that at all. As far as Ohio State goes in this one, I mean, I've given Chip Kelly a ton of credit for the play calling, for opening it up, for kind of catering to Will Howard to some degree. I think the Ohio State coaching staff, and I don't know if this was a result of the loss to Michigan and they figured it out, or they just were trying to prove a point or what, but the play calling and the coaching from Ohio State has been on a different level in these playoffs, and I think the results of that are showing up in, say, Will Howard's passing numbers.
They were just in their head against Michigan. Yeah, that's one of those things where you talk about this all the time when a quarterback starts to push a little too hard and they start to make mistakes. It felt like as an organization, they were pushing too hard against Michigan because they understood what the pushback would be if they lost that one. Well, now they've experienced the pushback and they're playing in a national championship. And they realize, all right, maybe there are some things, I love rivalries as much as anybody does in college football, but there are some things that can kind of make up for that. And winning a national championship is one of those. So I think they've kind of gotten back onto the path where they need to be. And you're right. Chip Kelly looks like a genius. He left UCLA. I don't know that anybody questioned it, so to speak. It made sense. Hey, he just wants to go coach football, do what he is actually, his passion is. Well, now that's all he's doing. He doesn't worry about NIL. He sure as hell ain't going into home recruits on a regular basis. He just gets to coach, and you're seeing that in real time. They got a lot of talent around him, certainly, but he's we're just seeing the best version, I think, of Chip Kelly and his offense.
On the flip side, Penn State, Notre Dame, Denton Day, here's my hot take. I think Penn State was a better football team, and I think they changed their entire defensive philosophy in the second half, and that's what allowed Notre Dame ended up with, 70 yards of offense in the half one, and then 261 yards of offense, which was like 8 off the total yardage allowed on a per-game basis by Penn State all year long. I feel like for whatever reason, and you can blame it on James Franklin, you can blame it on whoever you want to blame it on. We can blame it on Tom Allen, who I want to ask you about in a minute because he's the new DC here at Clemson. But it felt to me like the defensive philosophy of Penn State, for whatever reason, shifted in the second half. They stopped dancing with the girl that brought them, and it came back and bit them on the ass.
It definitely did, but I think that was more in part to their offense. Drew Aller didn't play well, and my mentions have been blowing up this week, Rob, because I've been critical of Drew Aller. I like him. I want to see him play well, but we're also now 2 years into his career waiting for the Drew Aller game. You had an opportunity against Notre Dame. It felt like you were the much more talented football team, and nothing really came of it. He missed a lot of throws. Like, you go back and you watch some of those, you're like, oh my God, like, how did you miss these ones? And you're leaving points on the board, points that you needed to win that football game. I was really displeased with the way that he played. I thought that was an opportunity for him to go out there and win a big-time football game, help his coach out a little bit, help his coaches out a little bit, because as you mentioned, the defense did kind of lax a little bit. But I really, if you would have presented me with a list of opportunities, Rob, or a list of situations on how we would feel after that game, at no point would I would have thought that Riley Leonard being the better quarterback was the one that we are going to get, that reality. But it is what happened. He got hurt. He got banged up. He came back in. I was like, is Marcus Freeman sure he wants to do this? And the answer was yes, because whatever they did to him, they knocked a screw right. Really, he's knocking a screw loose. They knocked a screw right, and Riley Leonard became the guy that they thought he was going to be.
I don't disagree with that. I do think, again, had Penn State kept the pressure up, listen, this is kind of one of those times that I go, offense, defense, 2 different units. You've got to play them what they do, and I feel like Penn State pulled off. But either way, Notre Dame 27-24, and now we've got our Monday Night Natty, Ohio State taking on the Fighting Irish of Notre Dame. Look, this game sets up real easy for me. If Ohio State sets the edge and does not allow Riley Leonard to beat him with the legs, hey, listen, we're going to give you a base defense in the second half of the football field. If you beat us with your arm, you beat us with your arm. We're not going to let you beat us with your legs and open up the field for you. If Ohio State puts that much pressure on the edge and keeps Riley Leonard contained, I think Ohio State wins this game, and frankly, pretty comfortably.
Yeah, I agree with that. If I'm Ohio State, if I'm Jim Knowles, for 2 possessions, literally only 2. All you need to do is 2. For 2 possessions, I'm playing nothing but man defense, and I'm blitzing the lights out of Riley Leonard. And by that point, you're probably up 14-0. And once you go up 14-0, any hope of Notre Dame running the football is completely out the window. All you got to do is do it for 2 possessions. The minute Ohio State gets up 2 scores, the game is effectively over unless Will Howard throws it away, unless Travion Henderson fumbles it away, Quidshot Judkins, whoever it is. When they go up multiple scores, Notre Dame does not have the offensive firepower to be able to withstand that, especially against a team that has the most offensive firepower in college football.
I just look at the situation. And listen, I like Riley Leonard. Seems like a good dude, more than decent quarterback. I just think he's one of those cats that the threat of his ability to run is what opens up the football field. There's a lot of spies, which means you're pulling a guy out of coverage, which means you've either got to play a man or you're playing a lot of, say, single high, lower zone. And I think that is ultimately what's given this team success. I think if you prevent Riley Leonard from really ever getting going with the legs, I don't know that he's even going to be more than average against a set defense on the outside, especially if I'm playing a press. On the flip side, Notre Dame runs a ton of press. I think they run like man press on 60% of their defensive snaps. I got news for you. Ohio State's got better wide receivers than anybody Notre Dame's played and a couple of All-American running backs. I'm not concerned about Ohio State putting up points. They're going to. I'm just concerned about their ability to stop Leonard, and I just feel like you blow up the pocket and making them uncomfortable, and that's going to be pretty easy.
And to your point on the Notre Dame defense, I fully understand identity, right? You're so far into the season. Do you really want to make massive adjustments to how you approach games and what your defensive philosophy is? Generally speaking, no is the answer to that question, Rob. But for this matchup, yes. If you go one-on-one, I don't take your pick. If you go one-on-one with Jeremiah Smith or Rebecca Mbuka, dog, you're in trouble. You gotta have help over the top in some capacity. You got to play maybe a little bit more laxed on the press stuff and play a little bit more zone to force Will Howard to throw into windows that are a little bit tighter than normal. You got to do something, because if you're just going to 1v1 those dudes, you're going to lose, and it's going to be very, very bloody.
We are talking to Denton Day, the host of Sirius XM's College Football Overtime here on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. Denton Day, one more before we let you sneak back off to your real grown-up, adult, responsible life. Tom Allen leaves Penn State as the defensive coordinator to come fill the same role at Clemson. Number one, your thoughts on Tom Allen and the hire. And number two, just out of curiosity, we had a listener ask us earlier, why would he leave Penn State for a lateral transition to Clemson? What are your thoughts on that?
So I like Tom Allen a lot. I worked on Big Ten radio for a number of years, Rob, and he was very frequent on the channel when he was the head coach at Indiana. He would come on, he would hang out with us. He's a great dude. He's a really, really, you want to talk about salt to the earth. That is Tom Allen. I hope you guys down there, I know we're not supposed to bring up religion. I hope you like church, because the pressers between him and Dabo Swinney are basically going to turn into sermons. That's why he went there. It's because Dabo Swinney is who Dabo Swinney is. And I never got full confirmation on this, Rob, but I did hear through a little birdie, hear through the grapevine and the rumor mill, when the job came open at Liberty, when Hugh Freeze left, Tom Allen, who was the sitting head coach at Indiana, at the very least, reportedly reached out. Now, you want to talk about a step down. I love my alma mater, but you want to talk about a step down. Indiana in the Big Ten to Liberty is a massive step in the backward direction, but he really liked the culture of what Liberty was. That's why he makes this move. And I don't know what James Franklin is about personally. I don't know what the area of Penn State is like. I've never been there, but I know what Dabo is about. So he makes that move because he wants to coach with Dabo Swinney, and because he likes the model that Dabo Swinney has built and the person that Dabo Swinney is, and he feels like he can be successful there. He's also getting paid a lot, and I'm sure the money in South Carolina goes maybe a little bit further than it does in Pennsylvania.
Perhaps. We'll find out. Denton Day is the host of SiriusXM's College Football Overtime. Joins us on Wednesdays. My guy, as always, appreciate you coming by. Next Wednesday, we'll have a national champion to talk about, fella.
I can't wait. I know it's going to be Ohio State. So, Lonzo, you're going to be a happy man.
I'm still nervous, but we'll see.
That's fair. That's fair. Does it kind of take the wind out of the sails a little bit, an 8.5-point spread, and we all think a cover's in play?
Maybe a little bit. I just hope it's better than Georgia TCU. As long as it's a better game than that, we'll be okay.
I'm not against that. Denton Day, you can find him on X at the Denton Day. My man, thank you as always, brother. Talk to you next week, pal.
See you, fellas.